Hello, welcome to this week's podcast. This is episode 186. And we just got through with 3 episodes on bullying, and now we're going to move into talking about how to build up people's strengths. And this is an important week for me to share with you guys because I've had the most amazing time preparing for my TEDx talk that's less than a week away now as of this recording. And I something inside of me was saying, you know what? You don't want to wait until you get back from Florida. You want to talk to your audience. And I felt like I missed you guys. We haven't talked enough, just one on one, these type of episodes. And sometimes I'll just jot down notes and say, oh my goodness, that's going to be in my next podcast. And lately I've been gathering my notes and not getting them off that paper and into this podcast. So this is my chance to just kind of share with you guys the things that have been flowing through my mind, the things I've noticed. And it's around communicating our strengths. You know, my talk is on bringing hope into people's lives through having better conversations. And one small part of it is talking about listening in a way that we're listening for people's strengths. And every time I say that part in the talk, I wish that I had more time to focus on it. So I'm going to give it a little more time here because I feel like it's one of the most important parts of our conversation is not if we're listening, but how we're listening and what we're listening for. I feel like we need to listen differently to be able to get different results. And I'm reminded of Dr. Linda Medcalf, the way that she explains solution-focused counseling, which is something that I say often, is that solution-focused counseling is a way of working with a client that focuses primarily on their strengths rather than the problem that brought them to counseling. It invites the client to look at a preferred future and then work on a way to bring that about. Now, my hope is that we take that same concept and we move it into our everyday conversations. We fill our mind with having a mindset that's solution focused so we can bring this into a conversation with our child, with our coworker, with our sister, with our best friend, whoever it might be. But I found that focusing on strengths is not something that comes natural to most people. And it doesn't even come natural for me. Of course, I look in the mirror and the first thing I'll see is, oh, something needs to be changed. Or, take, for instance, whenever we see a picture of ourselves, we're immediately going to find ourselves and then find a flaw. It's kind of natural for us to want to look at those things that aren't going right. And it's not even meaning that we're doing anything wrong by doing so. It just produces a different result. There's a time when we need to be critical. There's a time when our critical eye is exactly what is needed in a situation when something needs needs that level of perfection. Or our ear, if we're listening to music and our job is to help someone perform well, we want to have that a little bit more critical mind. But it gets carried away so quickly. And then we stand behind what we said when we were being critical as if it was the right thing to do, simply because we were saying it like it is and being honest. And of course, I believe in honesty. I also believe that if we listen to find strengths, then our honest answer is going to be different than it would be if we didn't listen for those strengths, because that's something we need to do on purpose. Because like I just said, it doesn't come perfectly natural. Naturally, we're going to be like, oh, that didn't line up with what I thought. Oh, that needs to be switched up a little. Oh, I didn't believe in what they said right there at all. And your mind is filled with this negativity, but you have an opportunity, you have a chance, you have the person that's in charge of your own brain to change that. So I saw some practical examples of that during my time of my preparation for this talk that I want to shed light on it. And it's all wrapped around the things that I watched in my best friend Rhonda. My best friend Rhonda opened up the theater at the high school that she works for me to practice. And I have known Rhonda for years and years. We raised our kids together. And I've known that she's the kind of person that's very particular in a sense where she knows how to look at details and she knows how to give great advice. But it's wrapped up in a person that also knows how to look at people's strengths. And as we walked into the lobby on the first day that I was practicing, I got there first. And there was this teenage boy there that was just kind of like sitting and reading a book. I don't know what he was doing. He was in his own little world, probably with headphones on. And he let me in, and he was just sitting there doing nothing. And then when Rhonda walked through, she paused and she turned around and she said, "You know, I saw your dance that you did." And then she started telling him what she loved about it. She said she loved the way the lighting was on his costume and the way that the dance moved forward and how this student had portrayed whatever he was doing. I didn't see the dance, but I was so thoroughly impressed with her ability just to pause and let him know those exact details of what she liked. Now, that doesn't happen automatically. That happened because when she was watching that dance, she noticed those things. She noticed what was going well in that dance. And it wasn't so she could randomly run into him in that little lobby area. That just happened. But sometimes things just happen because we have our eyes open to the right things. So then when the opportunity arises, we're ready to give that kind of feedback. Maybe if she wasn't the kind of person that looks at the things that are going well, she would have maybe been polite enough to be like, "Oh, if you don't say something nice, don't say it at all." And she would have just walked by him or maybe just waved. And then that entire opportunity for him to hear that would have been completely missed. It had to happen before when she was watching the dance. She watched it and took notice of it differently. And that's the same thing that I believe we could do when we're listening to people. We listen differently. We listen to hear their strengths, to hear the exception. Even if they feel like everything in their world is going wrong, there's going to be an exception. And you can ask a question to help them towards that as well. You'd be like, so what happened next? What went well? What did you do in between there? And pretty soon they'll say, well, then they'll say one of their strengths. And if you're listening for it, you'll hear it. And you'll say, hold on. So you mean that you did choose to, and then bring up the positive. The moment that you do that, the person that you're talking to, it's like it completely shifts the conversation to a completely different place because they feel as though you saw something good in them, something that they were maybe even hoping that they could uncover, and then you just uncovered it. Now, in this situation, she had noticed those positives about the dance. Now, she went on walking into the auditorium where she was getting my mic and getting stuff ready for me to help me out. Something changed within that teenage boy. He didn't know I was still watching him, and he had a little smile on his face. And then he started writing some things down, and then he put his music on his phone, and he stood up and he started practicing that dance. And he started practicing certain different parts of it and doing it again. And then it obviously sparked something within him. And it wasn't because she came and said, you need a little practice with that. If she would have said that, he probably would have said, forget you, I'm sitting here chilling, and felt crummy about himself. All she had to do was bring up the things that he had done well. And then he himself was then motivated to practice. And for the next 10, 15 minutes, he was there doing his dance and playing his music and in the moment. And I thought, That is a result of way back when she watched the dance, she chose to think, what's going well here? And then she chose to talk about it with him. Two small choices that have who knows what kind of results. Maybe the next time he does that dance, it will be 30% better. Not because she was critical, but because she was uplifting. Now, that continued in the auditorium, because the first time I did my speech on this stage, I tell you what, I'm used to speaking in front of, groups of parents and, workshops and things like this. But there was something about the bright light on me and the magnitude of knowing that I was practicing for a TEDx that made me feel really nervous. And I felt like my voice wasn't flowing, and I already could feel that insecurity within me. And I saw her writing notes, which I was very glad she was doing, because that was one reason she was there. And then when we were all done and it was time for Rhonda to critique me, if you will, she says, I loved the way that you said that the stress that you put on this moment. And I loved what your hands were doing right here. And I loved this part of what you were doing. She probably said 3, 4, 5, 6 things that she saw that she loved. And it made me feel amazing, because I knew there was a lot of flaws. I knew there was a lot of work to be done. But you know what? She led with strengths. She led with my strengths, and I was able to be the person on the other side going, oh, wow, she liked that. I worked so hard on that. I can't believe that it came through. And then it did the very thing that it did in that young man that practiced his dance. I was more motivated to make the changes that I wanted to make it even better. How can I make it better? And I was interested in her, I guess you could say, criticism, but she didn't say it in a criticizing way, but her critiques. I was more interested in that because she led with my strengths. And she gave wonderful critiques. So it went all the way around really well. But to be honest, every person that we talk to is very aware of the things that they're not doing well. Even the youngest kid that I talk to is so quick to put themselves down. It's amazing that they'll just be like, I don't learn well. I'm not smart, or whatever it is that they've already taken on this negative persona as a little tiny first grader, a little tiny kindergartner. And most of the time it's not because they've been put down. It's because we naturally know what we aren't doing well, if we're really honest with ourselves. We know the times when we've been less than. And it doesn't benefit us as communicators to focus so much on that, because it basically just confirms the things that they're already thinking in their head that's negative. We need to be the one that's confirming that there's positive and that there's wonderful things to be had, and that there's another little voice within people that they're thinking, but I really hope that somebody sees the light in me. I hope someone sees this amazing little part of me, or the good in me. And the moment that we shed light on it, it's so different. It's like sparking a match in a dark room and it lights up the entire room, or turning on your phone light in a dark room. It illuminates the walls. And the more that we bring the light in of focusing on the strengths, the more the person is motivated even to fix their weaknesses. That's the magic in it. So it's our turn to be listeners that level up our listening. It's time that we focus on the strengths. And we focus on strengths in the type of way where we can not only see the strengths, but we're able to verbalize that with the people that we care about before we have anything to say. Even if our job is to be critical, we could still lead with the strengths. And I wonder how you might do that in the week to come. I wonder if you turn on a different level of listening, if you'll not only hear someone mention something like, oh my gosh, they just mentioned a strength of theirs, then you chalk it away and then you bring it back up. What difference could it make? We never know until we try. So head out in this next week with the type of listening that's looking for strengths. And then just notice your own strengths when you do it and say, good job. Notice that and acknowledge it, because we all know it doesn't come natural. Now, I am going to be traveling in a couple of days to Florida, which I'm in California now. So clear across all the states over to the East Coast, and and it's going to be such an adventure. And I'm going to be taking notes and pictures and telling you guys all about it. If you want to follow my journey a little bit, I will be trying to kind of highlight my journey a little bit on my Instagram, which is Share the Focused Mindset, or you could just look up Cher Kretz, the Focused Mindset podcast, and it's right there. And I'd love for some of you guys that haven't got a chance to jump over there and follow me there, because this is one of those things that I know that not that many people really get to do. I mean, you could say, oh, yeah, TEDx talk, they're all over the place. They are, but it's still something that I don't know if I'll have that opportunity again. So I'm going to drink in every moment, and I'm going to try and really glean from the positives that are going to be happening throughout that entire week. And one of the things I was stressing about was what in the world to name this, because the way it works is that you have one name that you put on the flyer for the live event, and then that might get changed up for the TEDx YouTube channel. But I was thinking about it, and I was looking online at all of the different titles and then how it fits into my talk. And finally, I was like, you know what? This is going out to my community. I'm just going to put a whole bunch of my ideas out there and see what comes up with. And it was so great. I'm still getting answers in. But one of the answers was so great. It was by a lady that's all the way out in Europe. Her name is Safena, I believe, but it could be Safina, but I don't think so. But there's names that are over in Europe that I don't hear very often here. So I would need her to email me back and use a voice note and tell me exactly how to say her name so I don't say it wrong anymore. But Safena is emailing me, and she says, I feel really weird about giving you advice when you're doing a talk on not giving advice. And she had a point, because that's the very thing that I've been working a lot on. And you guys will have to tell me when you see the YouTube of this entire talk to see if I was successful in telling people about how important it is not to give advice when I'm standing there on stage, sort of giving advice. It's a very odd place to be. I plan to lead with, the same caring that I always talk to you guys about. I mean, I care about this subject, and hopefully it won't come across like a know-it-all, because that would be exactly the opposite of what I want to come across like. But she still did give me her opinion, and I loved her opinion. It was that I should name it, "Don't give advice, give hope." Simple, to the point. Trust me, I was making it a lot more complicated. You guys know this if you were reading all of my options, and I loved it. And the one that's going to be written on the live flyer is, heroes don't give advice, they give hope. And we really are a hero in somebody's life when we give them a gift of truly listening, and listening in the type of way where we hear their strengths. There's enough negativity in this world to go around. There's enough self-talk that tells us the things we're doing wrong to last us forever. Let's level up our listening and be the kind of hero that gives people hope. The type of hope that makes them see a brighter tomorrow and a pathway towards a brighter future. That's something that you can do in your next conversation. And I'm going to encourage you to do just that. And then let me know when you do. check the show notes and it will tell you how you can join my community. And then you can email me anytime. And those emails come directly to the inbox that I'm always following up with and reading. And it's a great way for us to stay in contact. So I hope that if you guys haven't joined that community, feel free to do that. You can also jump over to thefocusedmindset.com or sharekretz.com and learn more about the things that we have going on. I'm so excited to share with you guys some of the stuff that's going on in December, coming up here in January. We're just going to keep spreading this message of having a hopeful attitude and hopeful conversations, and really just having higher hope for yourself. Remember that my writing book, 30 Days to Higher Hopes, is available on Amazon. You can pick up a copy. You can get some for your family members for Christmas, and they can have a journaling book that will lead them step by step on a 30-day journey of how to rise the hope in their life to a level where they can move into this next year with a higher level of confidence. So check that out on Amazon. That's 30 Days to Higher Hopes. That's soon coming in Spanish, which is going to be amazing. But now it's time for me to get going. I'm telling you, right here and now, the next thing I'm going to be doing is packing. And then in a couple days, I'm on the airplane. So stay safe, guys. Keep your focus. And every single day, remember to live solution focused. See you next time.